like, I know there's a lot of, you have a lot of things in the works. You always do. You have a tendency to have like a lot of balls thrown in the air. Um,
All the balls.
all the balls, all of them. So where do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
Well, look, my view is that, I mean, as I said, I'm 51 now. I've had 21 surgeries. I've had 7 treatments for rabies. I was faced by a bat. My nipple's been torn off like 3 times. Reindeer, Arctic fox, Mexican jackfish. I'm Frankenstein basically. Look, I can take a lot of pain. I can keep going. Obviously, that's a core value for me, and it gives me an advantage over real TV hosts. Is that I not only know the stuff, but I can take a beating and not care. That's the paratrooper in me. But I can't keep this going indefinitely. I don't see myself hosting these expedition shows for Animal Planet Discovery for more than the next 5 years. I'm going to try and get a couple more in. If one gets a hit and gets renewed, I'm going to milk it to death. I mean, I don't know if you ever watched River Monsters. It's a great show, extreme fishing show. He was like in his 60s. So I can get something like that. I'll keep doing it. But let's be honest. It's not about me not being pretty enough, because I was never pretty enough. And that's the joy of being on Animal Planet. You know, you want a big bruiser like me that can take you the places that you dream of going. But I don't think physically I can keep doing this till my 60s. So I'm going to have to shift away from that. And I want to get back to my core strengths intellectually, which are writing and content creation, and now producing. Adventure Beast is my 4th EP role. And I really feel like I'm still a beginner, but I feel like I'm getting the handle on it now. And I know who to be partnered with. I've always been very clear in my business dealings, obviously as a publishing veteran with hundreds of publishing partners around the world. I've always been very clear to pick the right people. And not only do they have a tremendous record of success and similar aligned values, but they're the kind of people I would invite home to have a meal with my family. And if I wouldn't invite someone home to have a meal with my family, I'm not going to do business with them. I don't want to be embarrassed by someone. I don't want to be ripped off by someone. And we've all been embarrassed and ripped off, and we're all going to be embarrassed and ripped off. And we have to move beyond that. But let's try to minimize that. So I see myself having a couple of more heroic physical shows in the field, but then I'm going to move really much more strongly into scripted entertainment. I'm working a lot of projects in that space now, as you know, and also creating projects for other people to star in. And my goal, I've often said to my agents at UTA, I'd rather star in 2 series and produce 10 than the reverse. That's the goal for me. You know, that's the goal. And so that's where I think I'm going to go. And what I love about voice acting is that is a career that you can do indefinitely. Even as your voice changes, it becomes richer and more interesting. You become better at using it as an instrument. So I was really excited that I could possibly have created a new avenue for creative employment and opportunity. And so now when I'm looking at projects like this, I say, yeah, I'll be a part of this project, but I want to write on it, and I want to be an EP, and I want to voice a character. That's the kind of thing that I dream of doing, and I'm doing it. So I know that's a kind of a long answer, but
No.
it's never just more of the same, because nothing is ever the same. It's looking for ways to grow the skills that I have and to do more with them. And this is obvious, but I'll just say it, get a bigger ownership stake of whatever that project is. And that's only going to happen if you create more projects, you own them from the beginning, and they're successful. Mm-hmm. It's the only way it grows. And so that's what I'm committed to.
I think that's a great commitment. I know we've all been in businesses long enough. You know, you create something, then someone wants to take it from you, and that's pretty much the standard in Hollywood, especially when you're getting started. Oh, well, you don't have any credit, so you won't get created by on this one, but the next one, and we'll steal your I mean, I've been through this so many times, I can't even tell you. And I'm like, no. And, yeah, maybe I'd have series on the air now, but, I maybe not. But I think integrity is really important. And one thing I learned a long time ago, because I used to direct and write features, and, if you sleep with the devil, you will get burned. If you sell your soul to get something made, eventually it will F you over. And I think what you just said is very important. And aligning yourself with the right people is everything. I mean, I have Mimi and Ashley, the two best partners in the world. I have you as my, friend. We're working together. I have a lot of people in my life that I love and care about. And I think that for everybody that's listening, if there's somebody here that that you want to be friends with or have a better relationship, do it. Just what are you waiting for? Because you
Yeah.
never know what opportunities happen through relationships.
Oh,
And
so
sometimes,
agreed. And that's really, if this was a sport, if Hollywood was a sport, then the aim of the game is to collect as many good people as you can. That's the game. And you, over time, every project you do, you meet someone who's awesome. They could be in any aspect of the production. And you go, gotta have him, gotta have her. Now, it's hard to get them again because they're busy and they're great, but that's the game. The game is collecting good people because you can't do it on your own. The Army taught that. And it's true of this. It's a team sport. The whole French auteur thing, utter bullshit. It's all about working with other people. And can I just say one thing that's interesting? Because you do have to be humble and you do have to suck it up a little bit on your first projects,
oh yeah,
particularly if you're trying to get an EP slice and all the rest of it. So when I got my first feature up, the as I said, Fear Island, Fortress of the Bears with Animal Planet, I obviously was the expert on these bears and was also the expert on the Tlingit. I was the only one that had Tlingit access, the only one that could get you access to this land. So I, to be perfectly blunt, I had the show by the nuts. They couldn't do it without me, which is the goal. And but here was the thing. I really wanted to be the host, but as I said, even then, it was a few years ago. Now I was in my mid-40s. I wasn't from America. They wanted an American accent. They wanted someone younger, someone more chiseled with better abs. More hair on their head, less hair on their back, all the things that, I wasn't an ideal candidate. Okay. And then they had a new head of that whole group. And he goes, I don't want you more big bearded guys on Discovering Animal Planet. I want young and fresh. So they replaced me as the host with someone who was younger and better looking and American. And then that person couldn't commit because the time kept shifting. And they replaced me again with someone else who was even younger and better looking. You knew nothing about bears or the Tlingit, but it's TV. They want someone, that's how Hollywood is a lot of the time. And I was in a quandary. I spoke to a friend of mine who was a very experienced producer in Australia. And I said, what do you think? And he goes, I hate this, but you've got to suck it up, do the deal, get the EP credit and move on. And it'll get better for you in the future. So I humbled myself and I took the deal. Now I'm flying up to Alaska, knowing that now I'm just the producer and subject expert on the Native American culture and the wildlife of this island that I've known so well. And a little bit brokenhearted, but no problem. I had to fly up a few weeks early to set up all the camera traps to get as much bear footage in advance. I'm changing planes in Seattle. I meet the EP for the network and he goes, such and such, the host, didn't get his work visa. He was in the UK. He was British. So he didn't get it. So they've canceled the show. And I said, that's bullshit. You wouldn't have got out of bed this morning and got on a plane had they canceled the show because you're a fat, lazy bastard. Tell me the truth. And he goes, just kidding. You're it. You're now the host of this show. And that's how it happened. If I'd said no, I'm too proud, I'm not going to go ahead with it unless I get to be the star, there would have been no show. I humbled myself. I took what I was given, determined to build on it. Fate smiled on me and I got what I wanted from the very beginning. So, sometimes being unstoppable just means getting up and going to work.